Hello and welcome to So Many Books. I'm your host, Toni Andrews, and today's guest is best-selling author Lori Avocato, author of the popular Pauline Sokol mystery series about an ex-RN turned insurance fraud investigator and her sexy investigator partner Jagger, who is her partner both on the job and sometimes in the bedroom. Welcome, Lori.
Thanks, Toni. It's good to be here.
I'm glad to have you here today. Lori, let me start by asking you about the writing process. How long have you been writing?
I started, let's see, my son was going into school full-time, probably about 12 years now.
Really?
Yeah.
And you have 15 novels published in 12 years?
15 published, yes.
What brought you to writing? What made you start?
I have no idea. I was not the type of person that always wanted to write. I was a nurse. I was in the Air Force as a nurse, and I did that for 13 years. And then I was a burned-out nurse, much like my character. But I was a reader, and I was the type of reader that would, read and think, oh, I think I could do this, and how wrong that is. But it was much more difficult than it was, I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think it is for all of us. I was the same way. I didn't start off as a writer. It was something that I just decided to do one day. But I always read a lot too. I think we all did. That's what got us started.
Right.
So what's your writing process like? I mean, with such a prolific stack of books with your name on them, you must spend a lot of time writing. Do you write every day?
No. I haven't cleaned my house since the 70s, for one thing. I write like a job. It is a regular job. I make out a calendar when I have my deadline. I work Monday through Friday. I say I have to do 5 pages a day. If I am on a roll and I do 10 pages, then I'll put 5 in a bonus column, and the next day I might go to lunch or something like that. So it's a regular job. I think you have to treat it that way. When I know I'm going to be away, I cross out those days, and because I'm certainly not going to write when I go to Europe or something like that.
Exactly, and you do travel quite a bit.
I do.
You do a lot of public speaking, and that's great. In fact, you've been to a couple of places this year that were really interesting that I'd like to hear about. One was Alaska. You were in Alaska. What brought you there?
I went to a mystery conference, and it was by the Sisters in Crime. No, actually it was BocherCon, but the Sisters in Crime had gotten a grant from the government in Alaska.
BocherCon, what is that?
BocherCon is a mystery conference that's geared towards readers of mystery novels, and they move around the country. This past year it was in Baltimore, and it's probably one of their largest conferences for the mystery writing community.
Okay, and then Sisters in Crime.
Sisters in Crime is an organization of female writers. It was started several years ago by big names like Sarah Paretsky, because they felt, and rightly so, that the males were getting bigger, male writers were getting bigger advances and better coverage, better promo, and so they started their own group, Sisters in Crime. However, nowadays they do have some male members that belong to it.
I just joined Sisters in Crime myself.
Yeah.
I just did. And they're having an event coming up next month, I believe, called the New England Crime Bake.
Right.
And that's in Massachusetts?
Dedham, Massachusetts.
Dedham, Massachusetts.
Right near Boston.
That sounds like a fun event for the Sisters in Crime organization. And I noticed that they do have a number of male members now.
They do.
Yes.
They do, yes.
I think I first heard about it from Lisa Scottolini, who's one of my favorite writers.
I just saw her this weekend. We were at a conference together.
You were at where was
Lisa,
the conference?
in New Jersey.
Oh, really? Who put that on?
That was sponsored by the New Jersey Romance Writers.
And that's a chapter of the Romance Writers of America?
Right.
You're very active with that group, aren't you?
I've been in it since 1996, and I've served on the board of directors for the Connecticut chapter for 8 years.
Wow.
So, yes, I am very active in it. And this is my last year serving on the board.
You're going to take a break from
I
that?
am,
That's
yeah.
a lot of work. That's
It
an
is.
incredible amount of work.
But it's been great, and I'll tell you, joining RWA, the Romance Writers of America, really cut years off my wasting time by not knowing what to do to get published.
They really helped you with that?
Very helpful, very helpful.
Okay. That's the first piece of advice that I always give people when they ask me what they should do to get started writing, is to join their local professional organization.
Absolutely.
And you'll learn so much from the other writers, and they'll help you get published. I would not be published today if I hadn't joined local writers organizations myself.
Many editors often recommend that writers join RWA if they're writing romances.
Yeah. Now, there was another organization that you're a member of that I was really curious about, ROM Vets.
Ah, right. The ROM Vets it stands for Romance Veterans. We're a group of, I'm thinking now it's in the 40s or 50s or 60s even, We are all women that at one time in our lives served in the military. I was a nurse in the Air Force post-Vietnam. I mean, but there's only like 3 that were nurses, which I always found interesting. We have members of that have attended every of the different military academies, naval, and some are pilots, some were intel, some were weather people, some were officers, some were enlisted. But we all turned out to be writers. And there's a certain camaraderie in the group that, you know, you're just a certain type of person, I think, that joins the military for one thing. So we found out that there's a lot of commonalities amongst us.
And I also went to the RomVet site and did see a picture of you in your uniform.
And I'm glad you don't have one tonight.
It was too small to blow up, or I would have brought it here. But our viewers can go to the RomVet's website and they can see Lori in her nurse's uniform.
Before and after.
Before and after.
No, those are my dress blues, I think. I don't think I have the regular blue uniform.
In your dress uniform.
Although when I worked, I did wear a white uniform, the nursing uniform. But Merlene Lovelace, Lindsay McKenna, we have some big name authors. Joanne Ferguson that are also members.
Yeah, Joanne Ferguson, she's got dozens of books published, doesn't she? Yeah.
Actually, excuse me, but Lindsay McKenzie was the first female to write a military story.
To write military stories, military love stories.
I believe she was in the Navy.
Read a few of them. She was in the Navy. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the Pauline Sokol series, because I've had a lot of fun reading those myself. And first off, I think that you have an interesting story about the inspiration for the character, or at least the name of the character, Pauline Sokol.
Well, she is the inspiration too. My grandmother was Pauline Sokol. That was her maiden name. She came to this country when she was like 16 years old. And she was like what we would call nowadays a kick-ass type woman. She was a very matriarchal, very strong woman, and she had 6 children. And actually, out of the 6 children during World War II, one was a female that worked in the factories. The other 2 females went into the military. My mother was also in the military during World War II, and of course the boys were. And my grandmother encouraged that. So I decided one day that I wanted to write an ethnic Polish character, because I am all Polish American. And my cousin says, well, make sure she's beautiful and intelligent and not the stereotypical Polish woman that people might think of. So I did. I made her a size 4, Pauline Sokol. I used my grandmother's name. And my grandmother died on her birthday at the age of 93, and the first book was an October release, but the books come out, you know, a week before. So they come out at the end of the month before. So it came out actually on September 28th, which was her birthday.
And did your grandmother have killer legs? Because one of the
things
they always talk about in all of the book covers, they always show
those are mine,
Pauline
not
Sokol.
my
Those are your legs.
Yes.
Pauline Sokol has great legs.
Yeah, it's true. My mother always used to say
joke.
that. The Macheko was my mother's maiden name, and she said the Macheko women all have great legs.
I wonder about the town where the books are set, or where Pauline's family is from. Right. Is that a real town?
Hope Valley. No, it's actually a fictitious town. It's a town I would love to live in, where you could walk to everything. But it has, Meriden is where I have, had grown up in, and that was a very ethnic town in the years ago, when each Catholic church was called like the Polish church or the French church or the Italian church, even though they had names of saints. But it was, and people lived in their little communities by ethnicity. And that's where I got the idea from, and I kind of made Hope Valley similar to that, only a more modern version. Although Pauline's mother still lives in a house like that's back from the Nixon era, and everything in it is